All right, so where we left off yesterday, if you guys are split screen, you can kind of share screens with me. If not, just remember that you guys need to be taking notes on your own. These will not automatically save for you into your drive, okay? All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at today is graphing functions. You guys know last week we talked about a small portion of functions. We talked about relations, graphing relations, how to map those out, how to put them into a function table, those types of things. All right. Well, we're going to take it a little step further, guys, and we're going to talk about specifically functions. So the first thing that you guys need to know is that functions can be represented by an equation. Okay. So right here, if you guys are looking, this right here, this linear equation, it is also considered a function. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is graphing them. Now, to graph them, you can create a table to plot your points on the coordinate plane, which you guys see right over here. Now, this table that you guys are looking at right there, that is what we consider to be a function table, or where it says, like right here, create a table. That's what it's talking about, okay? So this right there, that is a function table, okay? Now, if you notice, you're missing values here, your range or your y values, guys, from your function table, okay? So to be able to figure out what your y values are, you're going to have to substitute your x values into the equation and solve for y, okay? So to find your y values, you're going to have to substitute x into the equation and solve for y just like you would solving a regular equation, okay? So what that's going to look like, here's what an example would be, guys. You would start with -1 in your function table, and you would substitute that in for x. So what that would look like, that would be y equals 2, parentheses, times that -1 minus 3. Okay, and then from there, you would solve for what y would be, and then we would put that, we would list that into the column on our function table under our range. Okay, so if x was -1, notice I said if x was -1, you'd substitute that in and go -1 times your 2 right here, minus 3, okay? So then y would equal, 2 times -1 is a -2, and then minus 3, that would give you a -5. So y would equal -5. We'd come right over here into our function table, and then our first value would be -5. To use my text box, I'm just going to tab down. And now we're just going to substitute 0 into the equation. Okay, so that would be 0 substituted in for x. So 0 times 2 would be 2. And then minus 3, that would leave us with my next y value would be -3. Okay, substituting in 2, so substitute 2 in for x, 2 times 2 would be 4, and then you would have your 4 minus the 3, which would leave you with a +1. Okay, all right, and then substitute in 4, 4 times 2 would be 8, and then 8 minus 3, that would be 5. Okay, so now we have our domain and range, guys. We have my x values and my y values. Now it says to graph them, you create a table, which we created our function table already. Now we're just going to plot the points on the graph. I've already pre-marked for you guys our x and our y axis. Okay, don't forget our positive values travel this direction, negative values. I know this is menial, but I always try to put this just as a reminder because sometimes we forget. and then your negative values, just like a number line, a vertical or a horizontal number line there. And then also remember our origin is right there in the very middle point. Okay, all right, so back to plotting these values, guys. I'm going to change my drawing tool size to about 4 so it'll show up nice on our graph. Okay, remember each one of these squares right here represents just one unit. So on our first list, we're going to travel over to -1 horizontally, and then we'll travel down to -5. Okay, and we'll plot our first point right there at -1, -5. Okay, our next set of coordinates would be 0, -3. So we won't travel horizontally at all, but we will go down 1, 2, 3 to -3 and try to plot that right there in the middle. All right, our next set would be 2, +1. So we'll travel over 2 on our x-axis and up 1 vertically on our y-axis. And then we'll travel, for our last set, we'll travel over 4 and up 5. Okay? Now, again, we filled out our function table. We found out our range values, and then we graphed it onto our coordinate plane. And if you guys want to use your line tool, you're more than welcome to, whatever color that you prefer. And you can connect those like so with a nice straight line that our linear equation graphed right there. Okay? All right. Questions about that? All right, so again, since we didn't have any questions on the first example, guys, check out our directions right here. Complete the function table, and then graph the results. So here it's already got our pre-made function table for us. We just have to substitute into the values, or substitute my x values into the equation. So we've got -5 substituted in for x. Right up here is the equation. So -5 plus 4, guys, that's going to leave me a -1. We go to our next value, which is -4 for x. Substitute that in. You have -4 plus 4. That's going to leave us with 0. Substituting in -2. -2 plus 4 should leave us with a +2. And then substituting 0 in, 0 plus 4 should give us a +4 right there. Okay, so now we have our domain and our range and our ordered pairs that now we can graph onto our coordinate plane. Okay, so here again, guys, let's go ahead and quickly plot these. Let's travel over to -5 on my x-axis and down -1, and we'll plot that point right there. All right, we'll go over to -4, but we won't travel vertically any, and we'll plot that point right there on the x-axis. All right, and then we'll go travel over to -2, and then it looks like we're going to travel up +2, and we'll plot that one right there. Try to get them as close as you can, guys. And then 0, we won't travel over at all. And then up to +4, and we'll graph it right there. We'll graph that one on the y-axis. Okay? All right, and then if you guys want to connect those, you'll connect those right there just like that. Okay? Now, one thing that I want to quickly go over with you guys, that you need to edit these. If you're following along, guys, you can kind of see over here in our boxes on the next one, there was a little bit of a misprint there. Now this first value right here, it says -4. That needs to be 0, and the next one will be 4 as well. Okay, got a little jumbled up there. Number 3, guys, where you're looking right there, that the second x value should be -1, and the one below it should be 0. Go to number 4. You guys can draw these in just like I have been. The second one is 0, and the next one is +2. You guys can kind of see right there. They're just kind of mixed in. And then number 5, that first one should be a -1. And then the next one should be 0 there that's listed. And then we also have here 0, and then that next one should be 3. All right, now coming down here to 7 and 8, guys. Directions. Given the domain, we're going to find the range values. So it's given us an equation, y equals x minus 5, or a function. It's given us our domain, which is our x values. We're simply just going to create a small little function table right here. Okay, so we have my y values and my x values right there. I'll change my tool real quick. All right, so now simply we're just going to substitute those values in, create our function table, and then list out our range. Okay, so my x values, we have 4, 6, and 8. Now coming right over here, we're just going to substitute those values into the equation. So we would have 4, which would be minus 5. That would leave me with a -1. Then we have 6, which would be minus 5. That would leave me with +1. And then 8 minus 5, that would leave me with +3. Okay, so we completed our little function table there. Now we're just going to list out our range values, what they would be. So my range equals, guys, remember to use the brackets because we're dealing with a list or a series here. So my range, that would be -1, +1, and 3. And close those brackets off right there. All right, and that's it for finding the range values if we are given the domain. All right, real quickly here, let's look at, we'll do number 8 real quick. Remember, set up our function table. We've got x and our y values here. We're going to simply substitute these in. So we have -1, 0, 1, and 4 right there. All right, now let's look at finding our range values. All right, so substituting in -1 for x, -1 times 3, it's going to give me a -3, and then plus the 1 should give me a -2. Substituting the 0 in, 0 times 3 is going to give me 0, and then plus 1 should give me a +1. Substitute in 1. 1 times 3 is 3, plus the 1 should give me 4. And then substitute 4 in. 4 times 3 is going to give me 12. And add that 1 to it, so it should be 13. Okay, come right over here. List out our range. Range equals brackets. Let me fix that real quick. Good. Brackets. And we have a -2. 1, 4, and 13, and then close off those brackets right there. Okay? All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to list out your homework for you. Okay? You guys are going to complete 2 through 6. Okay? Finish the tables and graphs, and then if you scroll on down and look, you guys will finish out 9 through 12. Find the ranges. Okay? Do not complete the homework section. Okay? So again, you guys will finish out 2 through 6 with the tables and the graph, and then 9 through 12, you'll just substitute in the domain to find the range. Make sure you don't work on the homework section. All right.